Hello. Today we have a speaking point where I will be do a bit of talking to you, but you need to actually stay very alert and aware of what I'm speaking because I will be giving you a few points where you need to stop the video and think about the things I'm about to say. So bear with me. I'm going to try and make it as interesting as possible. It is a very serious subject, in fact, that we need to speak about because it deals with our endangered world. So endangered means what? Endangered is when something is on the verge of extinction, let's say, or when something ceases to exist. So are we up to that point where we have created this bubble that we live in and we do not take care of the world as it is? I would say yes, unfortunately. So to start the speaking as introductory questions, I have prepared two, and the first one is, what are some of the greatest dangers our planet is facing today? So here you might want to stop the video a bit and think about a few concepts that are threatening our living. Now that you have thought about it, I would give my own opinion, if you wouldn't mind. So, what are some of the greatest dangers our planet is facing today? First of all, we're living in the time of a great pandemic. Is this pandemic real? A lot of questions, a lot of controversy. If it's real, if it's not, whatever you believe in, it has actually changed the way we live drastically. So basically, the great danger we have is the extinction of people themselves because we do not take good care of ourselves and each other in general. So we do not pay enough attention to keeping healthy, to living healthy, to protecting ourselves. We usually take ourselves for granted, which I do not like and no one likes, but we kind of let it slide and let it go, unfortunately. And another great challenge that we are facing is the global warming, which affects our whole living, our lives, our planet, the way we move, the way we live, the way the seasons change. And we do have a lot of action taken for it. And hopefully in the years to come, it will become even better as it goes. So one of the good things, if we can call it that, from the pandemic is that the ozone layer is starting to close down because the whole world was in a lockdown and the whole world started to regenerate itself, which is great. So we can at least learn to keep up that sort of living after this pandemic passes. Another great danger, I would say, is the pollution of waters and oceans and lakes, with which we're losing a lot of the animals, a lot of the fish, a lot of the actual flora and fauna we have in the waters. So in 10, 12, 30 years, 50 years time, maybe our grandchildren, great-grandchildren will not have the same species we have today. So we need to be aware that we need to protect the environment we live in. It is up to us as human beings to be kind to each other and to the world as well. The second question is, what are some of the local issues we have regarding protecting or destroying the environment? So you might have heard before this notion of saying, act locally, think globally. So this is where it all starts. So I would like you to pause again and think about the things that we can do locally in order to protect the environment. Now that you have thought about it, you might want to just go outside of your comfort zone. In fact, go outside in front of your building or your house. What are some of the issues you might have there and start working on those? For me, the local issues are the littering, the garbage we throw on the streets, the lack of trash cans we have throughout the town, or just the general sense of how we throw away the things we do not use everywhere around us. Second of all, it's the emission of fuels and using of cars. So few people would actually use the bus or public transport or bikes to go to work, to and from work, And I think that you as students, as young adults and teenagers can actually affect this by using this bicycle riding a lot more and show the grown-ups that it can be done. And then other issues might include, and do include, a lot of talks about it, but very few actual actions taken. So again, you can enter the pool of doing action instead of just speaking as adults do. I'm referring here to actions for recycling, for cleaning up the parks, for hiking up the mountain and just collecting the litter as you go up the mountain. So just think about small things you can do on a daily basis to make the environment you live in closest to you locally better. Now, if you go to your book, even if you don't have it, don't worry, I have it scanned here. On page 6, you will see 3 pictures showing different types of, let's say, planet pollution or environmental disasters that have happened, unfortunately, in the world. So here in front of you, you also have the 3 pictures. So picture A, if we try to describe it, we see 4 people stuck in the middle of a flood somewhere in a village. And this flood might have been caused by heavy rains or just not having clean enough pathways for the water to escape after it has rained for a long period of time. In the second picture, you have a factory and it has a lot of pollution emission going into the air. Again, a very typical sight, unfortunately. And in the last one, what I talked a bit about before, the local issue of having litter and rubbish from humans just thrown at what seems to be a bus station. So it's not only about describing images like this, but it's also about comparing and contrasting how the 3 different situations of natural disasters affect the world today. So if we are to compare the 3, I would say picture B is the one that is on the greatest scale of actually contributing to the world's disaster, because emission of such gas and of poisonous materials and polluting the air has been very, very prominent in the last few years, and we have a lot of air pollution. So this is something to be discussed and worked on immediately. The first picture A, if we compare it to picture B, I would say it's a more local issue because the flooded area is a specific area, and here there are strategies of how we can actually provide better kind of cleanup of the water in order of heavy rains, and the people that are there can help each other as well. So this is more of a local issue. And the seemingly smallest issue of the 3 is in picture C. However, I think that this issue is something that can be worked on immediately, whereas from picture A and B we have to wait for something greater. For picture C, I think in comparison to the first 2, we can use our own mental capacity and our own sense of environment and stop doing the littering of the streets and the parks as we go. Now, some of the vocabulary I might have used, should have used, and you might have used in your revisions regarding this are rubbish, which is the things that you throw away because you no longer want or need them. Litter, small pieces of rubbish such as paper, cans, and bottles that people left lying in public space, like in picture C. Smog, a form of air pollution, like in picture B. Fumes, smoke, gas, or something similar that smells strongly and is dangerous to breathe. Flood, which is a large amount of water. Global warming, something I talked a bit about, the increase in temperature of Earth's atmosphere that is caused by the increase of particles of gases, especially carbon dioxide in the air. And then we have the useful language when describing, comparing, and contrasting, which is compared to, when I was comparing the actual pictures, picture A compared to picture B and picture C, or thing 1 with thing 2, in contrast to, similar amongst identical to, slightly, completely, or different from, not as big as, spacious as, not as important as, less than, in a similar position to, or in a different position from, compared with, is much more than, is only suitable for. In the first photo we can see, but in the second we can show. So this is just a recap on everything that I used throughout the video. If you want to check it out, go back a bit in the video and see how I have used those in practice. And to close this up, just a heads up to respect the COVID-19 measures, wear a cloth mask, practice social distancing, and wash your hands often. And this is one of the ways that we can protect the environment and ourselves. Done.